I'm Alex,
And I'm Teddy.
and we are
The Button Mappers.
Hey, the Button Mappers. Buttons, mappers.
We are the
Welcome to
mappers
show.
of the buttons. Yes, welcome to the Button Mappers. Hey.
The Hey, it's the Button Mappers. I mean, you just heard that intro, but I thought I'd recap,
And the last time with the Button Mappers.
Welcome to an episode of Game Talk, the only show on the internet where Teddy and I are in charge and large.
Yes. We definitely make that clear with our intro, our vocalization of our names.
Question, Teddy.
Yes.
Why didn't we answer Terry's question from the first Game Talk?
It's all my fault. I take the blame. So I didn't even acknowledge it because I didn't know I got it. I got it in my email and then it just disappeared. So I just presumed that maybe it was a mistake, but it actually got put under mark for spam. So I went ahead and approved the Button Mapper comment, verified, Button Mapper approved. So it's there now and we're answering it late. Sorry, Terry, you're still the homie, but we got you.
Sorry, Terry. I feel bad because we missed your question, but I also don't feel bad because you don't like the Switch. So I feel like it's a good trade off. It's your punishment.
Pow. Yeah. So let's read the question, and he's being sincere. He did say he wanted to cover this question first, get it out of the way, out of respect. So let's respect the question. Terry 309, 4 weeks ago. My gosh, how late do we schedule these videos for? Doesn't matter. Here it is. My question, what is your... All right, I'll start again. What is your most regrettable video game loss? Parentheses, save files, losing a game from your collection, getting a game over without saving for a while, end parentheses, question mark. Alex, you start.
Oh, this is hard, Teddy. This is such a hard question. I think I can think of a couple. I know whenever I was younger, which it didn't hit me till I was older that I had suffered a loss, was that I had a Nintendo 64 and a PlayStation 1 and a bunch of games. I had a bunch of games. Yoshi's Story, Star Fox 64, Smash Bros, a bunch of those titles. And along with the PS1, I had a bunch of, Crash games, Spyro games, those kind of stuff. And whenever the brand new, I don't know why this is what I chose to get, whenever the brand new Microsoft Xbox came out, I traded my N64, my PS1, and all of my games to get an Xbox.
Oof.
I was pretty young, so I didn't really understand the value. I was like, oh yeah, I'll just get the Xbox. It's gonna be amazing. But Jesus Christ, now looking back, I'm like, why did I trade all those? I do have N64 now that I bought a couple years after that. It's the green one, but my original one was not the green one. It was the regular old one. But I still don't have a lot of those games that I did have whenever I was younger, and I played all the time. That's one big loss that I've never gotten over is the fact that why did my parents let me do that? And I even traded that Xbox in for a PS2 like a year later because I was like, man, the PS2 just looks a lot better, game wise at least. And then the more recent one was that, and I don't want to go too deep into the details, but I went through a messy breakup 5 years ago or something like that, and I had to sell a lot of my stuff. And I was going through my games, and I kept the games that I really wanted to keep, the games I was going to play again, the games that meant something to me, or the games that I knew were pretty valuable. I kept those, and I sold the rest. I made like $700. One of the games that I sold, I thought was super cheap. It was Def Jam Fight for New York on the GameCube, which is like a rapper fighting game. I actually like that game a lot. It's fun, but I thought like, oh, I could buy it again for cheap. That game goes for $100 now. Yeah, fuck me, right? Like, I just want to beat up Flavor. I just want to be like Ice-T and beat up Flavor Flav, but I can't do that on my GameCube now because I sold my copy and I did not know it was worth that much.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I've seen it a couple times and it's like outrageously priced now, and I'm like, why is this so high? I didn't think it was that expensive.
GameCube tax.
I don't really think I have any experience of like losing save files or something like that. Not off the top of my head, nothing like devastated me.
Okay.
What about you?
I think that's a common story for sure about like not selling the game and not realizing its worth, but like the time when we all traded in our games, because that's not that's something a lot of kids went through. Because, of course, you're a parent, you got your kids, and they're like, I want this, I want that. Well, you can't have that, and you can't have this. So, I've sold games. I regret it. Not my most regrettable loss, though. I think when I think about regrettable losses, it does have to do with save files. Because, the games are, monetary expenses, of course. And you can, put in the going value and get the game back. But one thing you can't get back is the time. And the game that I had a save file for that is actually thematically connected to today's is Dragon Warrior Monsters on the Game Boy Color. It's a game I'm very nostalgic about. And I remember having beaten the game. I had not fused monsters. What you actually do with the monsters in the game is you have them breed, and then both monsters disappear, and then an egg is left, and then the egg hatches into some crazy monster. You can't always tell what it is. And I just remember having an awesome combination of monsters, and at some point in my life, I've sold that game, or it just got lost. And I really I want to go back, and I want to see how cool my team is. So that's my most regrettable loss.
Oof. I'm sorry, Teddy. Let's a moment of silence for Teddy's Dragon Quest monsters, everybody.
Respect.
Thanks for the question, Terry. That was a really good one. It pulled at our heartstrings.
I know. I've shed a few tears for Alex's games and for my monsters.
For your monsters and my rappers.
And for the listener entertainment.
We actually got a double decker today. We got another question.
Ding 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 ding.
Lined up.
This one comes
at the beginning of the episode.
Yeah, little shock value there. So this one comes from the homie VG Mashup. Props to him. Button Mappers, #1 fan and friend of the show. Thank you. I appreciate coming in with the strong question. And what he had asked comes at the end of our last Game Talk episode. He was the only one to ask a question over there. So, guys, just a reminder to those of you listening, drop us a question, something connected to gaming, and we'll do our best to answer it on the show.
Or not connected to gaming. It could be anything.
Anything?
Yeah. I
Even
mean,
cheese?
Okay, maybe not anything.
Yeah, okay. I tried to drip from juices, because that was a topic previously. Anyways, BG Mashup's question, where or how would you rank the current gaming generation? Question mark, parentheses, in comparison to others or on its own, end parentheses. Do you want me to take this one first?
Yeah, because I feel like this one's hard without considering all the previous generations. So yeah, go ahead, Teddy.
Sure. I think that this generation is probably one of my favorites. And by this generation, I mean the Nintendo Switch, the PlayStation 4, and the Xbox One. And the reason that it's one of my favorites is that all three of those consoles have something strong and exclusive to offer to the market. Now, the Xbox, of course, not so much in the terms of its software library, but all of these consoles are running well on the best possible TVs you can afford, and they do have some quality content to enjoy. My girlfriend recently bought me a Switch for my birthday, and that was a godsend, and I've been loving every minute I've been putting into it. I don't know how I've avoided this thing for so long, but at the same time, I still have a deep found love and respect for my PlayStation 4. Now look, I could take a moment and try and give this a numerical score to try and assess it compared to the other generations, but this generation reminds me of some of the best generations of gaming, you know, when the GameCube, PlayStation 2, and Xbox were really at their finest. What do you think, Alex?
I am on the same page as you. I think definitely compared to the last generation, the PS3, Xbox 360, Wii U, that generation, I definitely agree that this generation is superb because it just feels like it's just anybody can get into it. You know, it's a gaming generation for literally everybody. There's something for you. Like I've had an Xbox One. I didn't have it for very long, but I do have a PS4 and a Switch. I love my PS4 and my Switch. I play them like every week pretty much. I play one of them, and I've put so much time. I put more time in this generation than I did most games last generation. I'm fairly certain, but still, there's if you want your multiplayer online games, they're there. If you want your single player RPGs, they're there. If you want your retro platformer indie style games, they're there. Like there's so many options for you to game now that you don't have to just like, oh, I guess this is what I have to play because this is out. It felt like last generation it was like, oh, I guess I'll play Uncharted because that's what's out. You know, oh, I guess I'll play this because that's what's out. Now it's like you have so much like so many choices. Everybody's got a pretty decent game out now.
Well said.
And again, I think it is hard to rank this generation, but I would say it's in my top 5 at least. But it's up there, and I've been enjoying it a whole lot, and I hope that the next generation follows in the footsteps of this generation and not the previous generation.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, much love for this generation, and much love for VG Mashup. Thank you for the excellent question.
Thank you, VG Mashup. You are a true mapper, the mapper supreme.
Mapper seal of approval.
You are a certified mapper.
We will stamp a seal of recognition on the button map for you.
That was fun. I like answering questions.
Yeah, as always, we did spend a bit longer on them today, which I think is fine. But we are going to talk about some games today because we got some games to talk about.
My first game is Clue Land.
Fuck that. Said no one ever.
I can't wait for the actual Clue Land video.
Could you imagine? It's Christmas Eve. You're waiting patiently under the Christmas tree, and you get up early to discover a well-wrapped gift. You're waiting to put something on your new Nintendo console. You slowly unwrap the box. The ribbon comes off.
Is it Final Fantasy? Oh, is it Dragon Warrior? What is it? What brand new game could this be?
You slightly peel the wrapping paper off from the corner of the box. You see that Nintendo seal of approval. And it's Clue Land.
Oh, it's got to be something good.
Wow. Oh my gosh. I actually have to see the box cover for this now. Clue Land box art. Oh, man.
It looks more exciting than it is.
Yeah. Wow. I might actually be pretty excited to play that.
Anyway, we're not talking about Clue Land today. We're talking about 2 different games.
Thank God. Maybe April Fools. But till then, I'm going to talk about the demo for Dragon Quest XI on the Nintendo Switch. I'm
Wow, that's a lot
really
of games.
I'm really excited to talk about it. One of the things about Dragon Quest is that I've been a longtime fan, and I almost regret on my previous channel, Majority, that I never really figured out that I had a purpose with Dragon Quest. Do you remember like when I used to do Dragon Quest content?
I think one of my first videos that I've watched of yours, I forget if it was Fortune Street or if it was Dragon Quest Swords, but it was one of those. It was.
Yeah, and I have done both of them. I remember you left a comment on the Swords video, which was definitely a classic that's lost to time. But I used to love those spin-offs, and I loved talking about them and sharing them. And I remember there was a time where Dragon Quest was not for the West, where Square Enix did not see the potential for the series overseas. And, you know, while I can sit and lament the fact that I didn't become a Dragon Quest channel, I really just celebrate the fact that it's become a household name here in the States. We now have Dragon Quest Heroes 1, 2, Dragon Quest 11, Dragon Quest 7 on 3DS, Dragon Quest 8 on 3DS, and Dragon Quest Builders 1 and 2. The future is looking bright for Dragon Quest, I have to say. And you do have people talking about it. You have the hero in Smash Brothers. The hero from Dragon Quest 11 at that. So this is a very exciting time to be a Dragon Quest fan.
I am actually really interested in picking up Dragon Quest 11 on Switch because I have not played a Dragon Quest. The only experience I've had like before this was I played a demo for Dragon Quest, I think it was 8 on the PS2 on a demo disc, and I think that's the only experience I've ever had with a Dragon Quest game.
And that's not a bad experience to have. I mean, those demo discs are pretty cool. And I kind of do want to talk about the demo as a whole, like the idea of a demo as its own entity. But I will say first, just my experience with the series. So I've successfully finished Dragon Quest 4 and Dragon Quest 7. And I've played through bits of Dragon Warrior 3, Dragon Quest 5, and Dragon Quest 8. And you know, I've played enough of Dragon Quest 8 that I can kind of make the comparison to Dragon Quest 11. I think they're very similar when you look at them. They're 3D, open world, and, you know, there's some RPG elements, some grinding, but much like the 3DS version, the Switch and PS4 versions allow you to see the monsters on the screen so you can kind of avoid random battles. I did have some notes here of things that I just wanted to bring up because I think they're really important when talking about the game. This game was made for the Nintendo Switch. You know,
Why do you say that?
Well, I own it on the PS4 as well, but I own the Japanese version. And my girlfriend and I had played a little bit of the Japanese version, and we were enjoying it, but, you know, it was taking some time. The reason that I actually played the PlayStation 4 version was because it was out, you know, but I bought the Japanese one because it was like $25 as opposed to $60. And the other thing is, you know, the Switch version has a definitive edition, and just in the course of one night and an afternoon, I played more on the Switch than I have on the PS4. The fact that you're playing on a portable system is perfect, because one thing that's really intimidating to most people about turn-based RPGs is the length. They're daunting, they're time-consuming, and they can get repetitive. But when you're playing on the Switch, just portable, in bed, wherever, or if you even want to switch up to the TV, you know, you're good for pretty much any occasion. You can enjoy it at your own comfort. Do you feel similarly about RPG-style content on the Switch?
Absolutely, I do. I haven't played too many RPGs on the Switch so far. I do plan to. But I did play. I have been replaying Diablo 3, and that's a pretty lengthy, beefy RPG style game, and it's a game that I have definitely enjoyed more on the Switch because I do have the ability to play it portably, you know, and kind of leisurely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's definitely a selling point to me. Also, what comes with this definitive edition is not no, you know, lollygagging nonsense that you see with your other day one games where it's like some garbage DLC outfit.
Yeah.
You get some genuine content. I actually, was looking at just the menu screen for the demo of all things, and I was shocked to see that when you launch this game, it gives you options to start in a challenging mode. And I know just through the grapevine that one of the primary complaints for Dragon Quest XI was that it was easy. That people were playing this and they found it just, well, maybe repetitive because it was easy. But this is called the Draconian Quest. And I'm going to read them, start to finish. And you can select any of these to increase the challenge of your game, without it being some kind of artificial challenge. So the start is no shopping. You can't spend your gold coins on items. You have to get by with what you can acquire from chests and monsters. The second is no armor. You can't equip any defensive items. The third is reduced experience from easy fights. The fourth is all enemies are super strong. The fifth is shy pox. I have no idea what that means, but it says uncontrollable embarrassment will plague you on every step of your adventure. The fifth is
That's just my life.
Shy pox, right? The sixth is super shy pox. I think that one is my life. Savor the spectacle of seeing your allies crippled with embarrassment from time to time. That moment when you like make a joke and then nobody's laughing? Yeah, that's me. No.
Or like that moment when you're bowling and then you strike out and then you have to walk it back to the seats. It's
when you gutter, you get a gutter ball.
Yeah, sorry, yeah. You gutter, then you have to like the walk of shame back to your seat.
Super gutter ball. That'll be in the next Dragon Quest. Townsfolk talk tripe. Again, this is cool. A strange force will sometimes overcome the inhabitants of Erdrea, making them tell a white lie or two. Okay, and the last one is party wiped out if protagonist perishes. So that one's kind of normal. If your protagonist dies in an RPG, then the whole party dies. I actually set that one, and I set the all enemies are super strong, but there's some I wouldn't even dare to try, like no armor or no gold. That's a little intense. Do you think that's good day one definitive edition content?
Oh yeah, definitely. If I had heard complaints about the previous versions being too easy, it'd definitely be an incentive for me to still give it a go. I'm like, oh, this probably fixes that. I was gonna ask if people own the PS4 or the 3DS that had it too. If they own those versions, do you think they should pick up the Switch version based on this demo?
Okay, well, that's an interesting point because there's a discrepancy between the PS4, the 3DS, and the Switch versions. The 3DS version does something interesting where it does the 2D style of the game on the bottom screen, while the higher resolution, modern-looking version is on the top screen, but it's also in Japan only. That one did not get localized. It's a really unique experience, so I'm kind of sorry that didn't happen. But at this point, can you expect it to with the 3DS competing with the Switch? No. The PS4 is solely the modern version of the game. There is no, classic retro-looking version. And the Switch version allows you to alternate between either. I think
that's cool.
Yeah, I think that's pretty cool. Although you don't get to experience 2D in the demo. You can only play the modern version. I think that's a selling point for the Switch because I think it's just the most uniform looking of the three. And, I played a little bit of the PS4 version. Of course, the PS4 is beautiful. And there's nothing like a PS4 controller and the ease with which you can play the PlayStation 4. But, the Switch is just pick up and play friendly. I don't get distracted when I'm on the Switch. When I'm on the PlayStation, I feel like I get distracted too easy. YouTube or other stuff. I don't think the Switch really has as many of those applications for you to get lost in.
I agree.
There's also a couple of other things that show love here. You have fully voiced dialogue, and I know you're a fan of Fable, right?
Yes.
So what do you think about the voice acting in Fable?
Quick note to go back to my thing that I said about the Xbox One is that Part of the reason why I actually sold my Xbox One like a week after Lionhead Studios got shut down. Sorry, I just wanted to throw that out there because you said Fable, and it got me thinking about that. I was like, "Fuck this! I'm making Fable for this."
All right, so it's safe to say you were a Fable fan when the first few games were coming out, right?
Yeah. Okay. What was your question again? Sorry, I got distracted.
Are you a fan of the voice acting in those games?
Yes.
Then I think it's safe to say, and you can report to me on this later, that you will be a fan of the voice acting in Dragon Quest XI.
Okay.
The female, who's not a protagonist, but she's like by your side in the beginning of the game, has the voice, like a very similar voice to the sister of the main character in the first Fable game. And, you know, I know you've played Dragon Quest VIII a little bit, so you got to hear some of those international style voices, like, you know, voices from characters from other regions. Do any of those stick out to you?
No, when I played that demo, it was years ago, so I don't remember too much about it.
Oh, okay. Well, there's a guy named Yangus who's kind of like your stocky, you know, grunty figure.
I know that. Yeah, well, I know there was like a fat dude, right, with the like the greenish looking hat thing he has on. I don't know his name. Is the guy you're talking about?
Well, Yangus looks like a Viking, but he's got, you know, they do kind of like a British accent, I guess.
Okay.
I wouldn't know the region, but, you know, it's definitely dialected. And also, you do get the choice to switch to Japanese voices in case you're some kind of purist. So that's a nice throw in. I actually just wanted to hear the English voice acting, though. The last thing I wanted to close on here is the status of demos. Like, what do you think is the purpose of a demo for a game?
Just to give you a little bit of a taste if you're not sure. And, you know, it's like, I was like, I don't know if I wanted to buy Yoshi's Crafted World. Then I played the demo. And then I sneezed.
It was a valiant sneeze. It was a Dragon Quest worthy sneeze. Yeah, I agree. And I think one of the things that I get lost in when I play a demo is I'm always thinking in the back of my mind, okay, when is this going to be over? You know, when do I get to go up until? Yeah. So that was part of my problem playing the demo here. But I think you're right that one thing that it did sell me on was the game. You know, just getting to experience it and even just stop and like examine the spectacles. Like there's one point where you're like on top of a mountain and you can kind of just rotate the sticks on the Nintendo Switch to just see it for yourself. It really is beautiful, and they make some commentary on that in the game. I recommend, you know, if there's any shade in your mind of wanting to experience it or just see it, just give it a download. I didn't even think there was one on the PlayStation.
Okay.
So are you now interested?
Yeah, well, I was already interested in trying it, but I'm definitely going to be downloading that demo.
Yeah, let us know what you think.
This is my first Dragon Quest, so I will definitely be getting the full game.
Welcome to the party.
It's a sweet life.
That it is. So that's my game for the week. I know I kind of cheated. It's a demo. But Alex, why don't you go ahead, tell us about your game.
Remember at the beginning of the episode where I riffed on The Last Generation?
Yeah, you said you sold your Xbox, and you said that like 2 minutes ago, though. Well, anyways, go ahead. Remind me why.
Because I played a game from The Last Generation. this episode of Game Talk, I played my PS3.
Look at that.
I was out visiting my bud, Ash from Retro Rewind. I was at his store, and I looked behind his shoulder, talking to him, and there was, on the shelf behind his counter, there was the Mass Effect trilogy for the PS3.
Ooh, Mass Effect.
Mass Effect trilogy. And I played these games back on my Xbox 360 years ago. And I remember loving the first two. I never finished the third one, I think mainly because when it came out, there was a lot of negative feedback to it. There was a lot of drama. but I beat the first two, and I remember thinking they were like some of my favorite games, but I hadn't played them since. And the first one was an Xbox 360 exclusive for the longest time. So I saw that trilogy. I saw that it had the first game on the PS3 for the first time, and I was like, oh yeah, okay, let's get it. So I got it. I hooked up my PS3, and I jumped right in. I started playing a game from 2007 that I haven't played in like nearly a decade.
And was it just as nostalgic?
Man, whenever this game came out, and when I first experienced it, it was like the coolest, newest thing that I had ever played. And I still like Mass Effect, but Jesus Christ, the first game is a mixed bag. The game, if you don't know what the game is, I'm gonna give you a brief synopsis. I can't speak today. Synopsis.
It's okay, you're doing great.
Spoiler alert for a decade-year-old game. If you don't want to, if you want to spoil the plot of Mass Effect, but it takes place in the future where humans have kind of like intermingled with these like other alien societies for this big alliance and stuff. There's like these things called mass relays, which can get you from different galaxies to galaxy really fast. So it's like the whole universe is like opened up. We're all kind of connected now. And so within that, you play as a human named Commander Shepard, who is a Spectre who is like, he works for the Galactic Alliance, and he's kind of like above the law, sort of. Like, there's like only a few Spectres ever appointed, and they're just appointed to deal with big threats. And he's appointed after one of the other Spectres, Saren, goes rogue, and you're trying to figure out what the hell is happening. And it all culminates in this big conspiracy about these other life forms called the Reapers coming back to our universe and wiping us clean. Apparently they do it every like 1,000 years or something like that. So they come through, they wipe the galaxy clean of life, and then they restart. It's like a whole big conspiracy theory. And it spans 3 games, but the first game is just about you finding Saren and finding like the beginnings of this big threat. So,
wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, I think as a sci-fi story and as a sci-fi setting, it's really stand out from a lot of other games and movies. I think this would have worked a lot better as a movie, maybe. Because the story is just so good. And I love the story. I love the fact that this introduced... Well, I don't think it introduced it, but this really, like... this really helped to shape those, like, narrative-driven games. You know when you play a game now and it has, like, the like, narrative tree where you get to kind of, like, pick what you say?
Yes.
And stuff.
That's a staple now in RPGs.
Yes, this was one of the first games to really, like, market that heavily. To be like, oh, all your choices matter. And they do. The best parts about this game, honestly, are not the combat or the exploration. They're talking. It's just talking to your crewmates, talking to the different characters, and learning about the story. I learned more about the universe by just talking to the crewmates that joined my crew along my adventure. And they're talking about their different alien races and stuff, and it just really helps you develop, like, a connection with these characters.
I think you're really kind of selling me on this concept. What was it that compelled you to come back to the series?
I remember it definitely is the setting and the story, because I remember I liked that a lot. The thing that I didn't care for, that I kind of wanted to see if I still didn't care for it, was the combat, which... Spoiler alert, I still don't really care for the combat in Mass Effect. I think the second game got better, but with the first game, they tried to blend third-person shooting with a RPG like mechanics. And I don't know if it worked as well as it could have. It feels kind of sloppy. Because you still have you and 2 party members on each mission. But it's like real-time third-person combat. And actual shooting mechanics are very sloppy. They feel really rushed. Like
Okay.
they feel really like cheap. But the RPG mechanics, leveling up your teammate using I forget what they call it. It's not magic. It's like biotics. It's like their version of magic. Like using that stuff and like kind of commanding your troops is still like works a lot well. Like still works a lot better than the actual shooting. And I think I think starting with the second game, they did kind of tone it back to a third-person shooter. But this game's interesting because they tried to like mesh it together with an RPG.
Okay. Well, I'm interested in playing it now, which I would never have thought I'd said for a PS3 or 360 game. Would you say that you're now interested in experiencing the other two games over again? Did you play both of the other games? I kind of missed this fact.
I played the second one. I never beat the third one.
Okay. Are you interested in going back and doing 2 and 3 now?
Yes. I'm going to start them. I'm taking a quick break because I kind of like played the first one like in a whole week. I'm taking a break and I'm going to go back and play the second one because I don't want to like burn myself out. But I'm a big fan of BioWare. You know, they did a bunch of other RPGs before that. Like they did Jade Empire and the Knights of the Old Republic games, that I have those. I actually, after I bought this and I re-experienced Mass Effect 1, I actually went out and bought all of the Dragon Age games too, which they also did. So I have a lot of RPGs to play on my PS3 right now. But I think, which I don't want to ramble too much, but I think what stood out to me as the biggest moment for Mass Effect 1 is there's a mission where you get to this planet, and one of the characters that you could talk to that has joined your crew since like the first part of the game, he tells you that his race is dying out because they have been infected with some like big disease, and they were never able to find a cure. It's something that's been passed on through generations now, and they're not really like they're going to go extinct. And you get to this planet, and it's just this like base that you're going to have to blow up. That's the end all be all. Like you need to blow this place up. They're cloning that race. They're making that race, but they also have the cure to his people's big infection, or what you want to call it, big virus. So it's kind of like it's kind of hard because in that mission, I lost that crew member for the rest of the game, and through the rest of the games, whenever I play those and my save files carry over, I'm not going to have that character ever again. And it kind of broke my heart because I was trying to de-escalate the situation. He was mad because we had to blow up this base that had the cure for his people, but there was nothing I could do about it. I had to do it for the greater good of the universe, and he ended up dying, and it was like. It was sad. It was like, it actually touched me. I was like, oh my God. I was like, I lost like it felt like I had lost a friend,
That's beautiful, man. It's nice to see that games can really evoke your feelings. Beautiful, man.
It's beautiful, man. And that's the beauty of Mass Effect. It's like sucking you into the world.
Mm-hmm. So I want to ask you now, has Mass Effect shaped what you either look for or kind of define an RPG as? Do you know what I mean by that? Has it like, I don't want to say has it like changed your definition of RPG, but has it created something that you now look for? Like when you play RPG, like do you really do you now care about narratives, or like do you now care about like having that big world and the significant dialogue, not just like the choosable dialogue?
Last Generation, Mass Effect, and I think Nier were the two RPG games that I played last generation that really shaped what I wanted from RPGs. And I've played many RPGs since then. I used to not really care for the genre, which is I think also a fact that like why I wanted to go back to this game, because whenever I played it, it sold me because it was a shooter. and I was like, oh, it's a shooter, with RPG elements. But going back to it now, I'm like, oh, it's an RPG with shooter elements. It's kind of it's like flipped. So now that I'm more into RPGs and I do really love the genre, yeah, I could definitely see that it did shape like what I want out of an RPG now. I want a good story that will connect. I will kind of like connect with the characters and stuff. And it's just, and some games don't give me that. Some games do. But I definitely think in terms of writing, Mass Effect is top tier material, and it should be a movie, honestly. But I think also within doing that, you kind of like lose the interactive value, the value of choice which the game gives you.
Well said.
So that was Mass Effect. That was me rambling about Mass Effect. Sorry, Teddy.
It's a great ramble. I loved it. I gotta play it now.
So yeah, it's got great music. That's the last thing I wanted to say.
So does Dragon Quest. I could sell you on Dragon Quest just for music. So guys, that's it for Game Talk. We went a little longer this time. Hope you don't mind. Let us know.
RPGs are a little longer, so
It's true. And yeah, we had fun. We had fun with the questions. Be sure to leave us any questions you got. Anything you want us to try and tackle on the next episode of Game Talk.
Hey, what do you think about Dragon Quest 11 and or Mass Effect 1?
Yeah, have you played them? Are you interested in playing them? Are you downloading the demo as we speak? Did it finish? Is your Wi-Fi good? Have you checked?
Have you eaten today? What's your phone number? Where do you live? What's your... Sorry, I got a little off track there.
That's it, button mappers. We had a great talk, so talk to us.
I don't know. I was gonna make a RPG related joke, but I don't know.
Not too late.
Talking about that emotional moment, Mass Effect made me sad.
Yeah, it's okay to be vulnerable, Alex. You can be vulnerable in these.
Not in America.
And shout outs to my sink, which has been gurgling this whole time. I don't know if you've heard it, Alex.
I have not, but I'm glad you were telling me this information.
If you see me like look over funnily during the talk, that's what that is.
Okay.
Hey y'all, don't forget to subscribe to them button mappers.